Well, hey there, Lindsay. Doctor and psychiatrist Tom Milam says he speaks with people here in the Roanoke community every day that are worrying about an increase of violence throughout the country. But he says the risk of developing anxiety as a result of exposure to that violence is the highest in young children. That's because young children often can't discern the difference between violence that they see in television shows and video games and that happens in real life. He says it's also hard for children to understand whether an event they see on television has an impact on their own safety. He says one of the best ways to cope with a violent situation happening around the country is to talk about it in the home.
You don't also have to sensationalize the violence. Reassure them that they are safe. Reassure them that schools, homes, parents are taking every measure they can to keep kids safe. And trying to help kids be kids, to be playful, to get outside and feel safe and enjoy playing with friends and not beginning to live their lives rooted in fear.
He says events like vigils or even just moments of silence are constructive ways to confront tragedy without dwelling on the violence itself. Now, he says often signs of anxiety produced from exposure to violence can present physiologically as either headaches or stomach pains, but he advises every one of his patients to limit their exposure to violence if possible.
So, Rob, how about in adults? I'm curious, does being exposed to violence affect people in their everyday lives as they work? You know, we talked about kids, but what about, you know, their parents?
Well, yeah, John, it is definitely a concern with parents as well. They can suffer some of the same exact physiological effects that children can from exposure to violence, but that being real-life violence. Parents and adults can distinguish the difference between television shows and video games and what is real life, but he says that often the problem with kids is that their brains haven't developed to the point where they can make that connection. So it's important to talk to children about violence they see on TV and make sure that they don't suffer some of those effects.